Welcome to Unknown Genesis 4K. Today we embark on an epic and perilous voyage into the abyss. This is Atlantic Extremes, journey through the world's most dangerous seas. Before we plunge into the heart of the ocean's most terrifying storms and explore the edge of the known world, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and turn on all notifications. Join our community of explorers, steel your nerves for the adventure of a lifetime, and let the voyage begin. The Atlantic Ocean is a vast, churning wilderness that stretches from the frozen wastes of the Arctic to the windswept shores of Antarctica. It is a domain ruled by primordial forces where deep-sea currents collide and create some of the most violent weather systems on Earth. For millennia, this colossal body of water has served as both a barrier and a bridge, challenging human ambition with its sheer scale and unpredictability. Beneath its restless surface lies a landscape of sunken mountains and abyssal plains, a silent testament to the ancient geological power that continues to shape our planet. To venture out into these open waters is to enter a realm where nature reigns supreme and where the line between survival and disaster is as thin as a ship's hull. Throughout history, the Atlantic has lured explorers with the promise of new lands and untold riches, only to swallow them in its dark, freezing depths. Early mariners set sail in fragile wooden vessels, guided only by the stars and rudimentary charts, embarking on journeys that were essentially suicide missions. They faced the wrath of sudden squalls, scurvy, and the psychological torment of endless horizons where no land could be seen for months. These brave souls pushed the boundaries of the known world, mapping the treacherous currents of the Gulf Stream and charting the rocky, fog-shrouded coastlines of North America. Their stories of endurance are etched into the very essence of maritime lore, serving as a reminder of the high cost of human curiosity and the merciless nature of the sea they sought to conquer. At the heart of the Atlantic's volatility is its complex meteorological engine, a breeding ground for atmospheric monsters. Here, the warm, tropical waters of the South clash violently with the frigid air sweeping down from the polar regions, igniting atmospheric explosions of terrifying scale. This thermal battleground spawns hurricanes that gather strength over thousands of miles of open ocean before slamming into coastlines with devastating power. Even far from land, the open ocean is prone to sudden, cataclysmic shifts where waves can grow to the height of office buildings within hours. Rogue waves, massive walls of water that appear without warning, can strike with enough force to crush steel hulls and capsize the largest vessels. Mariners must constantly monitor these atmospheric shifts, knowing that a single miscalculation can deliver them directly into the jaws of a watery grave. Far to the south, where the Atlantic merges with the icy currents of the Southern Ocean, lies the dreaded Drake Passage and Cape Horn. This is widely considered the ultimate test of seamanship, a place where winds howl relentlessly and giant waves circle the globe unimpeded by land. The collision of water masses creates a chaotic, churning sea that has claimed thousands of lives and hundreds of ships over the centuries. Icebergs calved from the Antarctic ice sheet drift silently through these waters, shrouded in thick fog and presenting a constant hazard to navigation. To double Cape Horn was once a legendary rite of passage, a feat that required nerves of steel and an absolute refusal to surrender. Today, even with modern technology, these waters command the utmost respect from every captain who dares to traverse them. Further north, in the subtropical warmth of the Western Atlantic, lies the infamous Bermuda Triangle, a region steeped in mystery and myth. For decades, stories of disappearing aircraft and vanishing ships have fueled speculations of alien abductions, temporal rifts, and magnetic anomalies. While scientists attribute many of these incidents to rapid weather changes, strong currents, and human error, the psychological dread remains very real. The area is prone to sudden, violent waterspouts and unpredictable storms that can blind navigators and disrupt communications in an instant. The deep ocean trenches beneath this region swallow all evidence, leaving families with only questions and the ocean with its secrets. The Bermuda Triangle serves as a haunting reminder that even in our highly mapped and monitored world, there are corners of the sea that still defy simple explanations. In the modern era, the Atlantic remains a bustling highway of commerce. Yet its dangers have not been tamed by engineering. Massive cargo ships, stretching hundreds of meters in length, must navigate these treacherous shipping lanes, carrying goods that fuel the global economy. When winter storms rage across the North Atlantic, these behemoths are tossed like toys by towering waves, risking cargo loss or catastrophic structural failure. Daring solo racers and extreme sailors also seek out these waters, testing the absolute limits of human endurance and carbon fiber technology. They sail on the ragged edge of control, sleep-deprived and isolated, facing the constant threat of hitting submerged debris or being overwhelmed by sudden squalls. It is a high-stakes gamble where technology and human skill are tested to their breaking points against the ocean's raw power. Beneath the surface, the Atlantic hides a mysterious world that is less explored than the surface of the moon. Running down the center of the ocean is the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, a colossal underwater mountain range where tectonic plates tear apart and new crust is born. In these deep trenches and hydrothermal vent fields, water heated to hundreds of degrees spews mineral-rich fluids into the freezing ocean. Here, in absolute darkness and under crushing pressure, bizarre ecosystems thrive on chemical energy rather than sunlight, challenging our understanding of life. Exploring these abyssal depths requires highly specialized submersibles and robotic vehicles capable of surviving the hostile environment. Every dive into this deep abyss reveals new species and geological formations, reminding us that the Atlantic's greatest mysteries are often hidden far beneath its restless waves. Yet, the true core of the Atlantic's story is the human spirit, which refuses to be intimidated by the ocean's fury. When disaster strikes on the open sea, search and rescue teams brave the worst conditions imaginable to save lives. Helicopter pilots and Coast Guard crews fly into the teeth of howling storms, hovering over pitching decks to pluck stranded mariners from certain death. These rescue missions are masterclasses in courage, where elite specialists risk their own lives to pull strangers from the freezing, chaotic water. The stories of those who survived days adrift in life rafts, clinging to hope against all odds, speak to the resilience of the human will. It is this eternal struggle between human vulnerability and the unforgiving sea that highlights the respect and humility required to navigate these dangerous waters. As we prepare to set sail, we must remember that the Atlantic is not a force to be conquered, but one to be endured and respected. Each chapter of this journey will take us deeper into its perils, from the storm-tossed fishing grounds of the Grand Banks to the icy graveyards of the far north. We will witness the clashes of massive container ships, the courage of solo racers, and the silent mysteries of the ocean floor. The sea remains as untamable today as it was when the first wooden ships left the safety of the harbor. So brace yourself, prepare to face the howling winds, and look out over the endless horizon. The voyage has officially begun, and the secrets of the Atlantic extremes await those brave enough to look into the abyss. At the absolute bottom of the inhabited world, where South America terminates in a jagged claw of rock, lies Cape Horn. This is the gateway to the Drake Passage, a notorious stretch of water that has haunted the dreams of mariners for centuries. Here, the comfortable familiarity of the land dissolves into a chaotic wilderness of wind and water, where the earth seems to end and the abyssal wild begins. It is a place of raw, unbridled energy, where the elements reign supreme and human ambition is put to the ultimate test. Sailors who brave these waters know they are entering a realm where help is thousands of miles away and survival is never guaranteed. This is the edge of the earth, a line drawn in ice and foam, where only the boldest dare to cross. In this narrow maritime bottleneck, three of the planet's greatest oceans collide in a violent, never-ending struggle for dominance. The Pacific, the Atlantic, and the Southern Oceans converge here, forced through a tight gap between South America and the Antarctic Peninsula. With no landmass to block their flow, these massive bodies of water clash with unimaginable force, creating a swirling cauldron of cross currents and unpredictable swells. The sea becomes a battlefield, a churning expanse where currents rip in opposing directions and drag vessels into the abyss. It is a hydrological pressure cooker, where the immense volume of the global ocean is squeezed into a single turbulent passageway. There is no peace to be found in this watery crossroads, only the relentless, crushing energy of three oceans locked in perpetual combat. Screaming across this watery arena are the howling winds of the furious 50s, a weather system notorious for its unmatched ferocity. Because there are no continents at this extreme southern latitude to slow them down, the winds circle the globe, gathering speed and power over thousands of miles of open ocean. By the time they strike the Drake Passage, they have transformed into roaring gales that can tear sails to ribbons and capsize even the sturdiest modern vessels. These winds scream through the rigging like tortured spirits, deafening the crew and throwing freezing spray high into the air. The air pressure drops rapidly, spawning sudden, violent storms that catch even experienced captains off guard. It is a relentless onslaught of atmospheric fury, where the wind itself becomes a solid force, hammering against the hulls of ships. Driven by these ferocious winds, the waves of the Drake Passage swell to legendary, terrifying proportions. These are the infamous graybacks, monstrous walls of water that can rise over 80 feet into the gray sky, dwarf ships, and crash down with the weight of concrete. As they roll across the ocean, they form deep, gaping troughs that look like liquid graves, ready to swallow any vessel that loses steerage. Looking up from the deck of a ship, sailors see these towering liquid mountains looming overhead, blotting out the horizon. The sheer scale of these waves is paralyzing, a visual testament to the absolute power of nature. When a grayback strikes, the ship is tossed like a matchstick, its hull groaning under the immense pressure of the impact. Adding to the danger is the bitter, freezing cold that characterizes this subantarctic wilderness. The temperatures hover near freezing, but the relentless wind chill makes the air feel far colder, biting through layers of heavy gear. Every wave that crashes over the deck leaves behind a film of water that quickly solidifies into heavy, slick ice. This ice buildup is a sailor's worst nightmare, adding weight to the upper decks and threatening to capsize the ship by throwing off its center of gravity. Crew members must venture onto the slick, pitching decks in sub-zero conditions, wielding heavy wooden mallets to chop away the growing ice. It is exhausting, bone-chilling work, where a single slip on the icy wood means falling into the freezing water, where survival is measured in mere minutes. Beneath the physical toll lies a deep psychological pressure that tests the resolve of the sturdiest crew. The isolation here is absolute, a silent weight that settles over the ship as the last vestiges of South America fade from view. Inside the hull, the noise is deafening, a symphony of groaning steel, rushing water, and the constant shudder of the ship dropping into wave troughs. Sleep becomes a luxury, as sailors must brace themselves in their bunks to avoid being thrown out by the violent pitching. Every meal is a struggle against gravity, and every watch is a grueling test of endurance. In this empty wilderness, the mind plays tricks, amplifying the terrifying power of the ocean outside. It is a psychological battleground where fear must be mastered, or it will consume you entirely. For centuries, Cape Horn and the Drake Passage have served as the ultimate graveyard for wooden sailing ships and modern steel vessels alike. Thousands of sailors have lost their lives in these freezing depths, victims of the sudden storms and shifting icebergs that drift up from the Antarctic. The seabed below is littered with the shattered remains of proud galleys and majestic clippers that underestimated the raw, unpredictable fury of the passage. To double the Horn was once the ultimate badge of honor for a mariner, a feat whispered in seaside taverns with equal parts respect and dread. Even today, with advanced satellite weather tracking and heavy steel hulls, the passage commands absolute respect. It remains a stark reminder that despite our technological triumphs, there are parts of the natural world that can never be truly tamed. Yet, the allure of this legendary maritime challenge continues to draw modern adventurers and sailors to its icy waters. They come in high-tech racing yachts and rugged expedition vessels, seeking to pit their skills against the most hostile sea on the planet. For these sailors, the Drake Passage is the ultimate test of seamanship, a trial by fire that reveals the true character of a crew. They spend weeks preparing, checking and rechecking rigging, securing hatches, and studying weather patterns in a desperate attempt to find a safe window. But once they enter the passage, all the preparation in the world cannot guarantee a smooth transit. They must adapt to rapidly changing conditions, fighting fatigue and hypothermia as they guide their vessels through the towering swells. It is a grueling, exhausting dance with danger. In the heart of this chaos, one is struck by the overwhelming, almost terrifying beauty of the wilderness. The gray light of the Southern Ocean paints the world in shades of steel and ash, creating an atmosphere that feels both ancient and hostile. Albatrosses glide effortlessly on the gale-force winds, their massive wingspans carrying them over the crests of the giant waves with ease. They are silent observers of the human struggle below, perfectly adapted to a world that seems designed to destroy us. Watching these birds navigate the storms reminds us that we are merely visitors in this alien landscape. The Drake Passage is not just a body of water. It is a living, breathing force of nature, a cathedral of wind and ice that demands our absolute humility and awe. As our expedition begins, we prepare to venture deeper into the heart of this untamed wilderness, where the secrets of the Atlantic await. This is only the first chapter of our journey across the most dangerous waters on Earth, and the true trials still lie ahead. To continue exploring these breathtaking mysteries and witness the ultimate test of human endurance, subscribe to Unknown Genesis 4K. By joining us, you will embark on an unforgettable voyage through the planet's most extreme environments, uncovering the dramatic stories of those who dared to challenge the deep. The journey is just beginning, and the edge of the Earth is only the starting point. Brace yourself, keep your eyes on the horizon, and prepare to discover the raw power of the Atlantic extremes in the episodes to come. Out where the edge of Western Europe meets the wild, untamed Atlantic Ocean, there lies a body of water notorious for breaking ships and shattering spirits. The Bay of Biscay, bounded by the rugged northern coast of Spain and the sweeping western shore of France, is a crucible of maritime terror. For centuries, sailors have whispered its name with a mixture of reverence and dread, knowing that to enter these waters is to gamble with the rawest fury of the sea. Here, the ocean does not merely roll. It boils with a chaotic energy that defies prediction. As violent Atlantic storms sweep eastward, they carry thousands of miles of uninterrupted momentum, gathering strength before slamming headfirst into this legendary gulf. The result is a watery battleground where human ambition constantly collides with the crushing, indifferent power of nature at its most extreme. To understand the lethal nature of the Bay of Biscay, one must look far beneath the churning foam to the dramatic architecture of the ocean floor. For hundreds of miles across the open Atlantic, The seabed lies in a silent, abyssal slumber, plunging to depths of more than 4,000 meters. This vast watery plain allows massive swells to travel unimpeded, carrying immense kinetic energy across the globe. But as these deepwater giants approach the European coast, they run into a colossal underwater wall. The continental shelf rises abruptly from the abyss, skyrocketing from the dark depths to a mere 120 meters in a sudden vertical shelf. This extreme bathymetric transition acts as a massive speed bump, forcing the vast volume of moving ocean water to compress, rise, and erupt into towering vertical walls of water. This sudden shoaling effect transforms the ocean's energy from a deep, rolling pulse into a chaotic, crushing force. As the deep waves strike the continental slope, their lower halves are violently slowed by the friction of the rising seabed, while their crests continue rushing forward at full speed. This difference in velocity causes the waves to steepen rapidly, transforming relatively gentle swells into massive breaking waves with near vertical faces. These waves do not merely slide past vessels. They break with explosive force, throwing thousands of tons of pressurized water onto anything in their path. The shallow depth also prevents the wave energy from dispersing downward, forcing the water to churn violently in all directions. It is a physical trap of fluid dynamics where the ocean's momentum is compressed and funneled upward, creating a deadly playground of kinetic destruction. Compounding this bathymetric nightmare is the collision of powerful weather systems and complex oceanic currents that converge within the bay. The prevailing westerly winds of the North Atlantic push relentless gales directly into the semi-enclosed basin, piling up massive amounts of water against the French coastline. At the same time, the bay is influenced by the Rennell Current, a warm saline flow that runs northward along the Spanish coast, colliding with cold, outgoing currents from the English Channel. When these opposing forces of wind, tide, and current clash over the shallow continental shelf, they shatter any semblance of regular wave patterns. The sea becomes a confused labyrinth of crossing waves, where swells strike from multiple angles simultaneously, making it almost impossible for mariners to steer their vessels into the wind to ride out the storm. The geographic shape of the Bay of Biscay acts as a giant natural funnel, exacerbating the danger for any vessel caught within its boundaries. The triangular wedge formed by the coastlines of western France and northern Spain traps incoming storms and prevents them from dispersing their energy outward. As low-pressure systems roll off the Atlantic, they are squeezed into this narrow wedge, compressing the wind fields and intensifying their speed. The water itself has nowhere to escape, creating a massive pileup of storm surges that push relentlessly against the shallow continental shelf. This combination of trapped wind and restricted water movement turns the bay into a pressurized pressure cooker of maritime chaos, where the storm's fury is amplified by the very geography of the European continent, leaving ships with no room to run. In this chaotic basin, the waves assume a terrifying persona, often manifesting as sudden steep walls of gray water that can capsize even seasoned vessels. Because the continental shelf is so shallow, the wave cycles are incredibly short, meaning the peaks are spaced closely together. Ships do not have time to recover or rise over one crest before the next one crashes down upon their decks, burying the bow in freezing sea. The waves are notorious for their steep, breaking faces that carry a crushing force capable of smashing steel superstructures and tearing away cargo hatches. In the worst storms, these waves combine into monstrous rogue waves that rise without warning from the confused seas, towering over the surrounding waters and striking with the force of a detonating bomb. For thousands of years, this shallow trap has claimed countless victims, turning the floor of the bay into a vast, silent graveyard of maritime history. In the era of wooden sailing ships, The Bay of Biscay was a notorious death trap for vessels attempting to navigate the lucrative trade routes between northern Europe and the Mediterranean. Lacking modern meteorological forecasts and engine power, these old wooden hulls were entirely at the mercy of the wind. If a sudden westerly gale caught a fleet too close to the French or Spanish coasts, they would find themselves clawing desperately against a lee shore. Countless galleons, frigates, and merchant vessels were pushed onto the jagged rocks of Brittany or the steep cliffs of Galicia, their timber hulls splintered into kindling by the unrelenting surf. The depths of the bay hold the secrets of these ancient tragedies, preserving the remains of warships and treasure fleets that never made it to harbor. During the Napoleonic Wars and the Golden Age of sail, naval blockades in the bay were a constant test of human endurance, forcing crews to endure months of tossing and violent seas. The bones of Spanish treasure galleons laden with silver and gold lie buried beneath centuries of silt alongside British warships that foundered during fierce winter storms. The bay did not discriminate between merchant or warrior, king or peasant. It swallowed them all in its insatiable depths. Even today, archaeologists and treasure hunters look to the treacherous floor of Biscay with awe, knowing it contains one of the densest concentrations of historic shipwrecks anywhere in the world. The advent of steel hulls and steam power in the industrial era did little to tame the wild spirit of the Bay of Biscay. Modern container ships, car carriers, and chemical tankers transit this vital maritime corridor daily, yet winter storms force these steel behemoths to fight desperately for survival. As a modern 300-meter vessel crests a massive wave, its bow is suspended in mid-air before slamming down into the trough with a violent shudder. This impact sends shockwaves rippling through the steel hull, causing the deck plates to flex and groan under the immense pressure of the sea. On deck, securing cables snap like guitar strings, and heavy steel container boxes are crushed like aluminum cans, sliding over the side to disappear forever into the churning, white-capped abyss of the bay. High on the enclosed bridge of these vessels, officers grip the handrails as the ship rolls through 30 degrees, steering into the waves at precise angles to prevent a catastrophic capsize. When disaster strikes, brave French and Spanish search and rescue teams launch helicopters and salvage tugs directly into the teeth of the gale, risking their lives to snatch survivors from the jaws of the bay. Ultimately, the Bay of Biscay stands as a sobering reminder of the limits of human technology when confronted with the immense forces of our planet. From ancient explorers to modern captains, this legendary bay continues to command respect. It remains a shallow trap where the Atlantic shows its true power, and where every successful crossing is a hard-fought victory of human skill over the untamed forces of nature. Beyond the whispered myths of otherworldly portals and paranormal disappearances, the Bermuda Triangle harbors a far more terrifying reality, forged by the raw, unfettered mechanics of planet Earth. This infamous patch of the Atlantic Ocean, stretched between Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico, serves as a deadly laboratory for some of the most violent natural forces on the globe. Here, the romanticized legends of lost planes and phantom ships dissolve under the harsh light of modern oceanography and meteorology. What remains is not a supernatural curse, but a chaotic intersection of extreme weather, unpredictable currents, and geological volatility. For centuries, sailors and aviators have ventured into this watery gauntlet, unaware that they were crossing into a battleground where nature operates at its absolute limits. To truly understand the perils of this zone, one must look past the folklore and confront the physical monsters that rule these deep, deceptively beautiful waters. At the heart of the region's volatility lies the Gulf Stream, a colossal oceanic current that flows with the force and speed of a subterranean river on a global scale. Racing northward at speeds exceeding 5 knots, this warm water current acts as a relentless conveyor belt, capable of sweeping disabled vessels hundreds of miles off course within hours. For any ship experiencing mechanical failure, the Gulf Stream becomes a silent captor, dragging them swiftly away from search grids and into the trackless wilderness of the open ocean. The sheer velocity of the water can erase all traces of a maritime disaster in a matter of minutes, swallowing debris fields and scattering wreckage across vast abyssal plains. This rapid displacement explains many of the sudden, unexplained vanishments that originally fueled the legends, proving that the ocean's movement is far faster than human rescue efforts. The danger intensifies dramatically when the swift current of the Gulf Stream collides head-on with powerful storms moving down from the north. When these opposing forces clash, the energy of the moving water is compressed, raising the height of the waves to catastrophic proportions. In this turbulent clash of elements, the phenomenon of nonlinear rogue waves is born, monolithic walls of water that rise without warning from the sea. These liquid giants can reach heights of over 100 feet, packing enough kinetic energy to crush steel hulls and capsize massive cargo ships in a single devastating impact. Unlike regular storm swells, rogue waves are unpredictable, vertical cliffs of water that strike with no precursor, leaving seasoned captains absolutely powerless. In the blink of an eye, a vessel can be lifted, broken in half, and dragged into the cold depths before a distress call can even be broadcast. Far below the churning surface, the geology of the Bermuda Triangle hides another insidious hazard that originates in the deep ocean sediments. Vast reservoirs of methane hydrates, which are highly pressurized gas deposits trapped in icy crystalline structures, lie buried beneath the seafloor. When underwater landslides or seismic tremors rupture these delicate pockets, immense quantities of methane gas are suddenly released, rising rapidly toward the surface as a colossal column of bubbles. As this gas erupts into the water column, it dramatically reduces the density of the surrounding sea, causing the water to lose its buoyancy. Any ship unfortunate enough to be floating directly above the release point can lose its ability to float almost instantly. The vessel drops like a stone into the bubbling void, plunged into the abyss as the ocean collapses inward, leaving no buoyant debris to mark its final resting place. The atmosphere above the Bermuda Triangle is just as unstable and violent as the churning waters below. One of the most feared aerial hazards in this region is the sudden microburst storm, a localized column of sinking air that drops from convective clouds with explosive force. When these powerful downdrafts slam into the ocean's surface, they fan out in all directions, creating wind speeds that can easily exceed 150 miles per hour. For pilots flying light aircraft or commercial jets, entering a microburst is a nightmare scenario of rapidly shifting wind shear. The sudden loss of lift can force an airplane downward into the waves in a matter of seconds, giving the flight crew zero time to recover or react. On the ocean surface, these intense blasts of downward air generate localized squalls that can easily overwhelm yachts and smaller vessels without warning. Meteorologists studying this volatile zone have also observed strange hexagonal cloud formations that act as massive atmospheric engines. These unusual cloud structures, spanning up to 50 miles across, create what scientists describe as air bombs, intense blasts of wind that shoot downward toward the ocean. These microburst-like events generate localized wind gusts of hurricane strength, capable of flipping vessels and throwing aircraft into uncontrollable spins. The transition from a clear, calm sky to a raging tempest can occur in the span of a few heartbeats, leaving travelers with no time to prepare. The sheer suddenness of these atmospheric strikes contributes to the area's reputation for swallowing vessels without a trace, as the localized chaos leaves no survivors to tell the tale. It is a reminder that the skies above this region are as hostile and unpredictable as the currents below. The ultimate manifestation of atmospheric fury in this region comes in the form of intense hurricanes that sweep through the Caribbean and up the Atlantic coast. The warm waters of the Bermuda Triangle act as rocket fuel for these massive tropical systems, allowing them to rapidly intensify into monstrous Category 5 storms. When a hurricane enters this zone, it unleashes torrential rains, blinding storm surges, and sustained winds that shred anything in their path. The shallow sandbars of the Bahama Banks, which lie adjacent to deep ocean trenches, complicate maritime navigation during these tempests, creating highly erratic and dangerous surf. Under the assault of hurricane-force winds, these shallow reefs become ship-killing traps, grinding vessels to pieces on the ocean floor. Even modern, steel-hulled ships can find themselves utterly helpless when trapped in the swirling, chaotic heart of a mature Atlantic hurricane. Compounding these weather hazards is the complex bathymetry of the seafloor, which features some of the deepest underwater trenches on the planet. The Puerto Rico Trench, plunging to depths of over 28,000 feet, forms the southern boundary of the triangle, creating a vast, dark abyss where wreckage is lost forever. Alongside these abyssal zones are localized magnetic anomalies that have perplexed navigators for centuries, causing compasses to behave erratically and misdirect crews. In the days before satellite navigation, a minor compass deviation could lead a crew miles off course, straight into treacherous shallow reefs or into the path of an oncoming storm. This combination of deep trenches, shallow hazards, and magnetic disturbances created a perfect storm for navigational errors, sealing the fate of many early explorers who vanished into the vast ocean wilderness. Despite its fearsome reputation, the Bermuda Triangle remains one of the most heavily trafficked maritime and aerial corridors in the world. Every day, cruise ships, commercial tankers, and cargo vessels transit through these waters, while commercial airliners cross the skies above in constant streams. With such an immense volume of traffic, the laws of probability dictate that a certain number of accidents, engine failures, and human errors will inevitably occur. When an incident does happen, the combination of swift currents, deep water, and sudden weather changes makes recovery operations exceptionally difficult. A simple steering failure that might be a minor inconvenience elsewhere can quickly escalate into a catastrophic disaster when facing the swift Gulf Stream or an unexpected squall. The high density of traffic, combined with unforgiving environments, turns ordinary mistakes into permanent maritime tragedies. Ultimately, the true mystery of the Bermuda Triangle lies not in the supernatural, but in the overwhelming, chaotic power of the natural world. It is a region where the ocean and the atmosphere conspire in a relentless display of physical force, testing the absolute limits of human engineering and resolve. From the towering peaks of rogue waves to the invisible downbursts of microbursts, the hazards of this zone are real, documented, and entirely indifferent to human presence. The legends we construct are merely our way of trying to make sense of a wilderness that defies control. As we continue to navigate these beautiful yet deadly waters, the Bermuda Triangle serves as a stark reminder of our vulnerability. The greatest mysteries of our planet are often not born of fantasy, but of the raw, cinematic majesty of Earth itself. Deep within the frozen heart of Greenland, an ancient brooding power stirs under the weight of billions of tons of compacted ice. Massive glaciers, forged over millennia, crawl relentlessly toward the sea, pushed by the immense gravity of the polar ice sheet. At the edge of the wilderness, where the frozen land meets the raw fury of the sea, the glaciers reach their breaking point. With a deafening roar that sounds like artillery fire echoing across the desolate fjords, colossal walls of ice fracture and collapse. Millions of tons of ancient compressed snow crash violently into the freezing waters, sending massive waves surging across the dark bays. These newly born white giants, jagged and towering, float out into the open ocean, embarking on a dangerous journey down the coast. They are nature's dreadnoughts, carved by pressure and destined for a collision course with humanity. Swept south by the freezing currents, these drifting fortresses enter a notorious stretch of water known as Iceberg Alley. This oceanic highway runs along the rugged coastlines of Labrador and Newfoundland, acting as a conveyor belt for the planet's most formidable icy hazards. Every winter, hundreds of icebergs migrate through this desolate passage, carried by the relentless grip of the Labrador Current. For ships navigating these waters, the environment is a minefield of shifting white mountains. The icebergs come in all shapes and sizes, from low-lying growlers that hide beneath the surface to massive, cathedral-like structures that loom hundreds of feet into the sky. Under the gray northern skies, these silent sentinels pose a constant threat to modern mariners, testing their resolve in one of the most perilous and unpredictable marine environments on the face of the earth. As the icebergs travel southward, they encounter a terrifying atmospheric phenomenon, the freezing fog. This thick, impenetrable shroud descends upon the ocean like a ghost, masking the colossal hazards that float within it. The air temperature plummets, and the moisture in the air freezes instantly upon contact with any cold surface. Onboard navigating vessels, this translates to a dangerous buildup of structural ice. Ropes freeze solid, decks become slick as glass, and crucial electronic instruments get encased in heavy sheets of frost. The visibility drops to near zero, forcing captain and crew to rely on radar and raw instinct. In this whiteout, the silence is deafening, broken only by the eerie, distant groans of shifting pack ice and the low hum of the ship's engines pushing through the freezing dark. Every breath becomes a struggle, and every minute in this gray abyss brings them closer to the edge. Beneath the surface, a colossal battle of planetary forces plays out as the icy Labrador Current collides head-on with the warm tropical waters of the Gulf Stream. This thermal battlefield, located near the Grand Banks of Newfoundland, triggers violent turbulence and chaotic oceanic currents. The extreme difference in water temperature generates some of the thickest and most persistent fog banks on the globe. As warm air from the south meets the Arctic chill from the north, it condenses into a wet shroud that can last for weeks. In this turbulent zone, the icebergs are subjected to massive thermal shock. The warm waters eat away at their submerged bases, causing them to suddenly roll, shatter, or spin without warning. This unpredictable movement turns these floating hazards into ticking time bombs, defying all attempts to map their path. Navigators find themselves trapped in a game of Russian roulette. It was in these treacherous waters, on a bitterly cold night in April 1912, that the ultimate clash between human ambition and nature's frozen wrath occurred. The Titanic, celebrated as the largest and most luxurious ocean liner of the era, was racing across the Atlantic on its maiden voyage. Declared unsinkable by its builders, the vessel steamed ahead through the darkness, despite receiving numerous wireless warnings about drifting ice. In the shadows of the moonless night, a colossal iceberg, spawned from Greenland's glaciers and carried by currents, lay directly in the ship's path. By the time the lookout spotted the black mass rising from the sea, it was too late to avoid a collision. The iceberg scraped along the starboard side, tearing a series of fatal gashes below the waterline. In less than 3 hours, the steel titan sank into the abyss, claiming over 1,500 lives. The shocking loss of the Titanic sent waves of grief and outrage across the globe, forcing nations to realize that the ocean could no longer be navigated blindly. In direct response to the tragedy, maritime powers gathered to ensure such a catastrophe would never happen again. In 1914, they established the International Ice Patrol, a dedicated organization tasked with monitoring the threat of icebergs in the North Atlantic. Led primarily by the United States Coast Guard, This coalition of nations began patrolling the shipping lanes, tracking the movements of the frozen giants, and broadcasting warnings to vessels at sea. The ocean was no longer an unchecked frontier of silent predators. Humanity had finally established a sentinel to watch over the frozen dark, forever changing the nature of maritime safety and saving countless lives in the process. Today, the battle against the ice has entered the space age. The International Ice Patrol coordinates a high-tech network of satellites, advanced radar, and long-range reconnaissance flights to track the icy invaders. High above the atmosphere, radar satellites pierce through the thickest clouds and dense fog, mapping the locations of icebergs with incredible precision. On the water and in the air, crewed flights sweep across the ocean, verifying satellite data and identifying smaller yet highly dangerous growlers that radar might miss. This constant surveillance generates real-time data that is analyzed and fed directly to ships navigating the treacherous lanes of the North Atlantic. Through this relentless technological shield, the patrol ensures that the silent giants of Iceberg Alley are watched day and night, turning a once-blind voyage into a calculated, navigated journey. Yet, despite all this modern technology, the ocean remains a chaotic arena. The stakes in this frozen arena are higher today than ever before in human history. The modern vessels traversing the North Atlantic are colossal giants of engineering, dwarfing the Titanic in size and scale. Today's massive container ships, supertankers, and cruise liners carry thousands of passengers and billions of dollars in global trade through these cold lanes. A single collision with a wandering iceberg would not just be a human tragedy. It could trigger an ecological and economic disaster of unprecedented proportions. Supertankers loaded with millions of barrels of crude oil present a constant hazard, as a ruptured hull could devastate the delicate marine ecosystems of Newfoundland and Labrador. For these massive vessels, maneuvering away from a threat requires miles of open water, making early detection and constant vigilance absolute necessities in the modern shipping industry. One mistake could lead to catastrophe. As we look to the future, the dynamics of Iceberg Alley are changing at an alarming rate due to global warming. Rising temperatures in the Arctic region are causing Greenland's glaciers to melt and calve at unprecedented speeds. This accelerated fracturing sends an even greater volume of icebergs into the North Atlantic, creating a busier and more congested path. Yet, these warmer waters also cause the icebergs to deteriorate faster, fracturing them into smaller, harder-to-detect chunks known as growlers and burgee bits. These low-lying ice fragments hidden within the churning waves are a nightmare for radar systems and ship lookouts alike. Rather than making the lanes safer, the melting ice creates a chaotic and deceptive environment, proving that even as the planet warms, the ancient dangers of the North refuse to yield. The front line is shifting, but the war is far from over. In the end, Iceberg Alley remains a stark and beautiful monument to the absolute dominion of nature over the works of man. It is a place where time is measured in ice ages and where human survival depends on technological brilliance and humble respect for the elements. As these frozen sentinels melt into the warm embrace of the Atlantic, they leave behind a legacy of adventure, tragedy, and endurance. To explore more of the Earth's greatest secrets and witness the dramatic forces that shape our planet, subscribe to Unknown Genesis 4K and join us on this journey. For as long as the glaciers calve and the freezing winds blow, this icy highway will continue to test the limits of human courage. The Great White Wilderness awaits, and its secrets are only beginning to unfold. At the southern tip of the African continent lies a legendary maritime crossroads where the Atlantic and Indian Oceans clash in a spectacular display of oceanic fury. Historically christened the Cape of Tempests by the early Portuguese explorer Bartolomeu Dias, the The Cape of Good Hope represents one of the most perilous and awe-inspiring marine environments on Earth. For centuries, sailors have approached this jagged, wind-swept peninsula with a mixture of profound reverence and absolute dread. Here, the serene expanse of the Atlantic meets its match in the turbulent forces of the South, creating a chaotic realm where the atmosphere and the ocean remain in a state of perpetual warfare. It is a boundary zone of extreme elements, where jagged cliffs stand as silent witnesses to the struggles of countless mariners who dared to conquer these unforgiving waters. The fundamental driver of this maritime chaos is the collision of two massive ocean currents possessing vastly different temperatures and velocities. Flowing down the eastern coast of Africa is the Agulhas Current, a warm, narrow, and incredibly swift stream carrying tropical water from the Indian Ocean. Driven by powerful trade winds, it moves with the speed of an aquatic highway, pushing southward toward the cold southern reaches. Waiting to meet it is the west wind drift, also known as the Antarctic Circumpolar Current, a massive icy flow that circumnavigates the globe from west to east. When the warm, fast-moving Agulhas Current collides head-on with this frigid, relentless wall of water, the result is a catastrophic release of energy. The sheer physical contrast between these currents generates extreme turbulence, creating a watery battlefield of unparalleled violence. This monumental clash of currents does not merely stir the deep waters. It fundamentally alters the behavior of waves on the surface. Driven by the relentless westerly winds of the Southern Ocean, massive storm waves travel thousands of miles across open water, building up immense momentum. As these eastward-moving swells encounter the Agulhas Current flowing in the exact opposite direction, they undergo a rapid and violent transformation. The opposing current acts as a hydraulic wall, slowing the oncoming waves and compressing their wavelengths. By forcing the energy of these waves into a much smaller horizontal space, the current pushes the crests upward, skyward, creating steep and unstable structures. This physical phenomenon turns ordinary storm swells into vertical walls of water, transforming a rough sea into a labyrinth of towering near vertical peaks that defy regular maritime patterns. Under the right atmospheric and oceanographic conditions, this process culminates in the creation of the ocean's ultimate terror, the rogue wave. These are not standard storm waves, but spontaneous, unpredictable giants that rise to heights of 90 feet or more, completely dwarfing the surrounding seas. As the Agulhas Current continues to compress and feed energy into the opposing waves, they begin to merge, swallowing smaller waves to form a single monstrous wall of water. What makes these rogue waves particularly deadly is the deep trough that precedes them, often described by terrified survivors as a massive hole in the ocean. A vessel navigating these waters will suddenly plunge down this precipitous abyss before being struck by a vertical mountain of black water, bearing down with millions of tons of crushing hydrostatic pressure. The destructive potential of these rogue waves poses a catastrophic threat to modern shipping, especially the massive supertankers that rely on the Cape route. Designed to transport millions of barrels of crude oil, these vessels are incredibly long and rigid, making them vulnerable to structural failure. When a supertanker encounters a rogue wave at the Cape of Good Hope, the vessel can find itself suspended between two peaks, leaving its heavy midsection unsupported in the trough. Under this extreme bending stress, known as sagging, the steel hull can buckle and fracture. Alternatively, the ship can be lifted at its center, causing the bow and stern to hang in the air, resulting in a structural failure called hogging. In either scenario, the immense forces can split a giant steel ship in half, sinking it in minutes. Navigating this hazardous region has been a grueling test of human endurance since the dawn of the Age of Discovery. In the late 15th century, European nations sought a sea route to the wealthy markets of Asia, bypassing the costly and dangerous overland routes. This quest forced explorers to venture into the uncharted waters of the South Atlantic, where they encountered the full fury of the Cape of Good Hope. Bartolomeo Diaz first rounded the peninsula in 1488, surviving brutal storms that battered his wooden ships for weeks. A decade later, Vasco da Gama successfully navigated the passage, paving the way for the lucrative trade routes that connected east and west. These voyages proved that while the Cape could be conquered, the price of passage was paid in broken ships and lost lives. The legacy of these early maritime struggles is written on the ocean floor, where thousands of shipwrecks lie buried in the sand. The Cape of Good Hope quickly earned its reputation as the graveyard of ships, a title justified by the sheer volume of maritime disasters. Rocky reefs, thick coastal fog, and unpredictable winds conspired to push vessels off course, splintering wooden hulls and tearing open steel bulkheads. From early Portuguese galleons laden with spices to British East Indiamen carrying gold, the seabed is a vast repository of lost history. Sailors who managed to survive the freezing waters were often cast onto a desolate and unfamiliar coastline, miles from any harbor. Even today, the rusting ribs of wrecked vessels can be seen along the shoreline, serving as stark reminders of the ocean's unforgiving power. Such a dramatic landscape of storm and ruin inevitably birthed some of the world's most enduring maritime legends, chief among them the tale of the Flying Dutchman. According to folklore, a 17th century Dutch captain named Hendrik van der Decken was attempting to round the Cape during a howling tempest. Frustrated by the opposing winds, he swore a blasphemous oath, vowing to navigate the passage even if it took him until doomsday. The heavens condemned him to his word, and his phantom ship was cursed to sail the turbulent waters around the Cape for eternity. For centuries, sailors have reported sightings of a glowing ghost ship appearing through the ocean spray, a specter believed to be a harbinger of doom. This legend captures the psychological toll of Cape navigation, where the line between reality and nightmare often dissolves. In the modern era, the Cape route remains a vital commercial highway, especially when geopolitics or shipping canal closures restrict access to shorter northern routes. However, navigating this region today is a high-tech endeavor that relies heavily on advanced meteorological forecasting and satellite tracking systems. Modern vessels do not simply brave the storms blindly. Instead, they utilize sophisticated routing software to monitor wave heights, current velocities, and wind patterns in real time. Oceanographers continuously track the movements of the Agulhas current, identifying the precise zones where dangerous wave compression is likely to occur. By adjusting their courses to avoid the core of the current, captains can minimize the risk of encountering rogue waves. Yet, despite these technological shields, the Cape of Good Hope continues to demand absolute vigilance, as the ocean can change from calm to deadly in a heartbeat. Ultimately, the Cape of Good Hope stands as a powerful testament to the untamable majesty of our planet's oceans and the enduring spirit of human exploration. It is a place where nature reveals its raw, undivided power, forcing us to recognize the limits of our own technological dominance. If you are captivated by these epic tales of maritime adventure and the Earth's greatest oceanic mysteries, subscribe to Unknown Genesis 4K to join our journey into the wild unknown. Here at this legendary graveyard of ships, the echoes of past explorers still linger in the howling winds and the crash of the surf. The Cape remains a boundary of wonder and peril, a place where the Atlantic refuses to be conquered, reminding us that the greatest stories are often written in the deep. Out in the vast expanse of the North Atlantic, a colossal planetary force drives the ocean into a perpetual sweeping spiral. This is the North Atlantic Gyre, a massive system of circulating currents that rotates clockwise, powered by the Earth's rotation and relentless trade winds. The Gulf Stream races up the American coast. The North Atlantic Current surges eastward. The Canary Current sweeps south, and the North Atlantic Equatorial Current pushes back west, creating a colossal oceanic vortex. This circular flow acts as a giant marine wall, trapping a massive, tranquil body of water in its center. Here, far from the chaotic highways of the open sea, the water slows to a virtual crawl, isolating a mysterious realm from the rest of the planet. Inside this spinning watery cage lies a place of legendary dread and quiet wonder, where time itself seems to stand still. This isolated sanctuary is the legendary Sargasso Sea, the only sea on the entire planet that possesses no shores or land boundaries. While every other sea is defined by the coastlines of continents or islands, this enigmatic watery desert is bordered solely by the rushing currents of the North Atlantic Gyre. Spanning over 2 million square miles, its borders are fluid and shifting, defined by the temperature and movement of the surrounding oceanic rivers. It exists as an island of silence in a sea of motion, a vast marine prairie suspended over abyssal depths that plunge down thousands of meters. Sailors who stumble into this unique geographic anomaly find themselves in a realm where the familiar rules of navigation disappear, replaced by an eerie, boundless horizon of deep blue water that stretches out to meet the pale sky in every direction. As vessels cross the invisible boundary into the heart of the Sargasso, the howling winds that propel ships across the Atlantic begin to falter and die. This is the region of the light doldrums, a notorious meteorological trap where the atmosphere becomes heavy, humid, and completely stagnant for weeks at a time. The sails of ancient galleons and modern yachts alike deflate, hanging limp and useless from their wooden masts like discarded rags. The ocean surface transforms into a polished, glassy mirror, reflecting a burning sun that beats down mercilessly from a cloudless sky. Without a breath of wind to ripple the water, ships are paralyzed, stranded in a silent void where there is no progress, no escape, and no relief. The terrifying reality of being trapped in the absolute stillness of the ocean begins to set in for the helpless mariners. Underneath this glassy surface lies an ocean of startling clarity and profound depth, yet it is completely devoid of the usual coastal marine life. The water is a deep indigo blue, so clear that sunlight penetrates hundreds of meters into the abyss, illuminating a silent underwater desert. It is an oligotrophic region, meaning it contains very few nutrients, which prevents the growth of plankton that would otherwise cloud the water. This lack of microscopic life creates a deceptive beauty where the water looks clean and inviting, but is actually a biological wasteland. The sheer emptiness of the water column below reinforces the feeling of isolation, as there are no leaping fish or crying seabirds to break the monotony. It is a sterile, beautiful prison where the silence of the heights matches the absolute quiet of the deep ocean floor far below. Yet the most defining feature of this strange marine desert is not its emptiness, but the massive mats of golden brown vegetation that float upon its surface. This is sargassum, a unique genus of seaweed that spends its entire life cycle floating freely in the open ocean, never attaching to the seafloor. Propelled by tiny gas-filled bladders that resemble small berries, these tangled yellow weeds clump together to form vast floating prairies that stretch for miles. From above, the ocean looks as if it has been reclaimed by a sprawling golden savanna, shifting slowly with the gentle swells. These thick mats support a specialized community of small crabs, shrimp, and fish that have adapted to match the weed's color, creating a miniature ecosystem that exists entirely on the surface. For sailors, however, these golden fields represent a dangerous clinging trap. For centuries, wooden sailing ships that drifted into the Sargasso Sea found themselves battling these dense mats of floating vegetation, which choked their wooden rudders and tangled their hulls. The weed acts like a giant, soft net, dampening the motion of the waves and slowing the vessels to a complete halt, even if a light breeze manages to blow. Sailors would watch in horror as the golden brown weeds crept up the sides of their ships, clinging to the wood and creating the illusion that the ocean itself was swallowing them. The struggle to free a vessel from the weeds was physically exhausting, requiring the crew to row in small boats to pull the massive ship forward. In the heat of the doldrums, this backbreaking labor often yielded only a few meters of progress before the weeds reclaimed their grip. As the days of entrapment turn into weeks, the psychological weight of the absolute silence begins to erode the sanity of the stranded crew. Without the comforting sounds of rushing wind, creaking wood, and splashing waves, the silence becomes a physical pressure that rings in the ears. Every whisper, every footstep, and every drop of sweat falling onto the wooden deck is magnified in the quiet air, heightening the tension among the crew. The relentless sun beats down, evaporating the fresh water supplies and turning the wooden deck into a scorching griddle. The horizon remains stubbornly empty, offering no hope of a changing weather pattern or a passing ship to rescue them. Under this psychological torture, the vastness of the Atlantic Ocean feels less like an open highway and more like an inescapable, silent tomb. This harrowing atmosphere gave birth to terrifying legends of ghost ships, vessels destined to drift forever through the weeds with crews of skeletons at the helm. Writers and sailors spun tales of the great Bermuda Triangle and the Sargasso Sea, describing how ships would enter the doldrums and simply vanish, only to reappear decades later, preserved by the salt air but completely devoid of life. While these stories were often exaggerated, the underlying fear was rooted in the very real danger of starvation and dehydration that faced stranded mariners. Even today, the sight of an abandoned sailboat drifting silently through the golden mats evokes a chilling sense of dread, reminding modern sailors of the fragility of human technology when confronted by the passive, uncaring forces of the natural world. In the modern era, the silent desolation of the Sargasso Sea has taken on a new and tragic dimension as the North Atlantic gyre continues its clockwise sweep. The same currents that gather the natural sargassum weed now collect the discarded waste of human civilization, creating a swirling trap for tons of floating plastic. Microplastics and larger debris mix with the golden weeds, forming a synthetic archipelago that disrupts the delicate ecosystem of the surface. The pristine indigo waters are now littered with the remnants of our disposable culture, trapped in the center of the gyre with no way to escape the vortex. This modern blight adds a somber layer to the silence, showing that even the most remote and isolated corners of the globe cannot escape the reaching hand of humanity. Ultimately, the Sargasso Sea remains a place of profound mystery and quiet power, a testament to the diverse and unpredictable nature of our planet's oceans. It is a reminder that the wild frontiers of the Earth are not always defined by roaring storms or towering waves, but sometimes by the weight of absolute stillness. To explore these hidden depths and uncover the secrets of our world, we must dare to look beyond the horizon. Subscribe to Unknown Genesis 4K today, and join us as we continue to journey through the Earth's greatest mysteries, uncovering the incredible stories of human endurance and the raw power of nature. Together, we will navigate the currents of the unknown, discovering the beauty and danger that lie just beyond the edge of our map. Deep beneath the restless waves of the Atlantic Ocean, a colossal geological scar tears across the seafloor, marking the boundary of a planet in constant motion. This is the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, a titanic underwater rift where the Earth's very foundation is being ripped apart. Here, giant tectonic plates slide away from one another in a slow, relentless separation, opening a pathway to the molten mantle. The scale of this abyssal trench is staggering, a subterranean realm of raw energy and perpetual darkness where massive forces of creation and destruction collide. Far from the sunlight, this volatile boundary is the birthsite of new oceanic crust, a churning crucible where hot magma rises to meet the freezing pressure of the deep sea. It represents the primeval heartbeat of our world, a place where continents are pushed aside. Stretching for over 10,000 miles from the icy waters of the Arctic Circle to the windswept boundary of the Southern Ocean, this underwater mountain range is the longest on Earth. Yet, it remains almost entirely hidden from human sight, buried beneath miles of dark water. Unlike the dry peaks of the Andes or the Himalayas, this colossal range features steep volcanic summits, yawning canyons, and jagged basalt cliffs that have never felt the warmth of the sun. The sheer height of these submerged peaks is astonishing, with some mountains rising thousands of meters from the deep ocean floor. This colossal system divides the Atlantic basin in two, acting as a dramatic testament to the powerful convective flows circulating deep within our planet, forming a silent empire of stone and shadow that dominates the seafloor. At the core of this underwater wilderness lies the engine of seafloor spreading, where the planet constantly remakes itself. As the eastern and western plates slowly drift apart, the Earth's crust cracks open, creating a pathway for magma to escape. This magma rises from the superheated mantle, erupting under immense hydrostatic pressure into the freezing sea. When the red-hot basaltic lava collides with the icy ocean water, it erupts in a dramatic display of planetary physics, cooling instantly into strange pillow-like shapes. The water surrounding these active volcanic vents boils, generating clouds of steam and mineral-rich sediment that rise through the black depths. This is a violent, unending birth process, where the molten interior of the Earth surges upward to expand the ocean floor, transforming the oceanic trenches into active volcanic battlefields. In the deepest valleys of the ridge, the cold seawater seeps deep into the fractured oceanic crust, starting an incredible chemical journey. Heated by the underlying chambers of magma, the water reaches temperatures of over 400 degrees Celsius without boiling, kept liquid by the crushing weight of the ocean above. As this superheated fluid dissolves minerals from the surrounding rock, it becomes highly acidic and laden with sulfur, iron, and copper. When it finally blasts back out into the freezing ocean, the dissolved minerals instantly precipitate, building towering mineral chimneys that spew dark plumes of sulfide. These hydrothermal vents, known as black smokers, stand like toxic factories in the abyss, releasing hot plumes that rise like smoke into the pitch-black sea, creating a bizarre and highly volatile underwater environment. Despite the toxic chemicals and the absolute absence of sunlight, these black smokers host some of the most bizarre ecosystems on the planet. Here, life does not depend on solar energy, but rather on chemosynthesis, a process where bacteria convert hydrogen sulfide into organic matter. These microscopic organisms form the foundation of a complex food web, supporting animals that have adapted to survive in this extreme environment. Giant tube worms with bright red plumes anchor themselves to the vents, while millions of blind shrimp swarm the chimney walls, navigating by sensing heat. Crabs and other specialized creatures crawl through the mineral fields, thriving in a world that would be instantly lethal to surface organisms. It is a stunning display of biological resilience, suggesting that life can flourish in the darkest corners of the cosmos. While the vast majority of this tectonic mountain range remains submerged, in a few places, the volcanic fury of the ridge is so intense that it rises above the ocean surface, creating land. The most spectacular manifestation of this is Iceland, a land of ice and fire situated directly atop the mid-Atlantic ridge. Here, the divergent boundary is not hidden under miles of water, but is exposed to the open sky, splitting the landscape with massive fissures, steaming hot springs, and active volcanoes. Iceland sits on a mantle plume, a hotspot of intense geothermal energy that has fueled continuous volcanic eruptions for millions of years. This unique combination of a tectonic plate boundary and a mantle hotspot has created a geological wonderland where new land is constantly being forged by molten rock. To walk across Iceland is to witness the earth being torn apart in real time. In the ancient valley of Thingvellir, the rocky tectonic plates of North America and Eurasia diverge, creating a massive canyon where visitors can stand between two continents. The country is scarred by recurrent volcanic eruptions, where fissure vents open across the barren landscape to spew fountains of liquid basalt. Massive eruptions throughout history, such as the catastrophic Laki eruption, have released toxic gases and changed the global climate, demonstrating the global reach of the ridge's volcanic power. This restless landscape is a reminder that the tectonic forces shaping the deep ocean floor do not remain hidden. They rise to the surface, carving out rugged terrains and threatening modern civilization with ash clouds that can paralyze skies. Further south, near the center of the Atlantic Ocean, the Mid-Atlantic Ridge pushes up another volcanic treasure, the Azores. This remote archipelago rises steeply from the ocean floor, born from the intense volcanic activity where three tectonic plates meet. These lush green islands stand as monuments to the geological power of the ridge, offering a stark contrast to the barren lava fields of Iceland. Yet, beneath their calm appearance, the Azores remain highly active, with steaming volcanic craters, boiling mud pools, and mineral-rich thermal springs scattered across the land. The islands are constantly shaped by earthquakes and volcanic tremors, showing that the subterranean forces of the ridge are never truly silent, but are always ready to reshape the landscape with explosive power, reminding us of the planet's volatile heart. The volcanic structures of the Azores create a unique oasis in the open ocean, acting as a crucial sanctuary for marine life. As the deep currents of the Atlantic strike the steep underwater mountains of the ridge, they are forced upward, carrying nutrients from the abyss. This upwelling process triggers a massive bloom of plankton, which forms the foundation of a rich marine ecosystem. Here, giant sperm whales, playful dolphins, and massive schools of fish gather to feed in the nutrient-rich waters, turning the isolated archipelago into a bustling crossroads of ocean life. Seabirds nest on the high volcanic cliffs, while deep-sea predators patrol the waters below, demonstrating how the geological power of the Mid-Atlantic Ridge directly supports the web of life in the open ocean, bridging the deep abyss and the surface world. The Mid-Atlantic Ridge stands as the ultimate symbol of the Earth's restless energy, a colossal fissure that constantly shapes and reshapes our world. From the black smokers spewing toxic minerals in the abyss to the volcanic peaks of Iceland and the Azores, this underwater mountain range reminds us of the powerful forces that govern our planet. As we continue to explore the most extreme frontiers of our oceans and document the incredible wonders hidden beneath the waves, we invite you to join us on this grand adventure. Subscribe to Unknown Genesis 4K to explore the deepest mysteries of the Earth and witness the epic stories of planetary creation. By joining our community of explorers, you will embark on a cinematic journey through the greatest wonders of our wild planet, uncovering the secrets of the deep, one unforgettable expedition at a time. Beyond the southern edges of the Atlantic, the globe opens into a vast, unbroken expanse of water where the wind rules supreme. This is the realm of the Roaring Forties, a notorious belt of latitudes between 40 and 50 degrees south, where the Earth is encircled almost entirely by ocean. Free from the friction of massive continents, the westerly winds build up a terrifying, uninterrupted momentum. Here, the atmosphere is a churning engine of raw energy, whipping the sea into a state of perpetual chaos. For centuries, this hostile frontier has stood as the ultimate test of human courage and maritime endurance. It is a place where the sky merges with a dark, boiling sea, and where the raw, primal forces of nature operate on a scale that dwarfs the grandest human endeavors. The meteorological violence of this region is fueled by a relentless atmospheric conflict. Cold, dense air masses plunging northward from the icy vault of Antarctica collide head-on with warm, humid air currents flowing down from the subtropics. This collision zone creates a breeding ground for hypercyclonic storms and fast-moving, low-pressure systems that march across the sea in an endless parade. With no land masses to disrupt their flow or weaken their intensity, these gales gather strength hour by hour, day by day. They sweep across the open ocean at speeds that regularly exceed 50 knots, driving freezing rain and blinding spray before them. This is not a temporary storm system that passes and allows the ocean to heal. It is a permanent atmospheric conveyor belt of fury, generating some of the most consistent and violent weather found anywhere on Earth. Under the whip of these continuous winds, the physical laws of the ocean manifest in their most terrifying form. The crucial factor here is fetch, the distance of open water, over which a wind blows without obstruction. In the southern hemisphere, the fetch is effectively infinite, spanning thousands of miles around the globe. As the wind pushes against the surface, it transfers energy to the water, building waves that grow larger, faster, and more powerful with every mile they travel. The result is the formation of monstrous deep ocean swells that can reach heights of over 30 meters. These colossal, moving mountains of water travel at speeds matching the winds that birthed them, creating a chaotic, churning wilderness where vessels are dwarfed by liquid cliffs that threaten to swallow them whole with every passing trough. Historically, this violent highway was the lifeblood of global trade during the 19th century. The legendary clipper ships, designed for speed and cargo capacity, relied on the fierce westerly winds to carry them rapidly between continents. Navigating the Brower route, these merchant vessels plunged into the roaring Forties to transport wool, grain, and gold from Australia back to Europe. Captains pushed their ships to the absolute limit, spreading massive clouds of canvas sail to catch every ounce of the roaring gale. It was a high-stakes gamble where time was money, and a fast passage could make a shipping merchant's fortune. However, this speed came at a devastating cost. As many ships vanished without a trace into the freezing depths, their wooden hulls shattered by the relentless hammering of the southern seas. Life aboard those historic wooden ships was a brutal struggle for survival against the elements. The air temperature hovered near freezing, and constant saltwater spray coated the decks, sails, and rigging in slick sheets of ice. Sailors had to climb high into the swaying masts in pitch darkness, their fingers numbed by the wind, to reef sails while the ship pitched and rolled violently below them. One slip meant a fatal plunge into the churning, icy waters where rescue was impossible. The constant noise was deafening, a chaotic symphony of screaming wind, roaring waves, and creaking timber. Exhausted crews worked in wet clothes for weeks on end, battling frostbite, scurvy, and pure exhaustion, knowing that their lives depended entirely on the structural integrity of their vessel and the wisdom of their captain. Beyond the wind and waves, a silent and deadly menace drifts through these turbulent waters. The proximity of the Antarctic continent means that giant icebergs regularly break off from the ice shelves and float northward, directly into the path of ships navigating the roaring Forties. While the massive cathedral-like ice mountains are visible from miles away, the real danger lies in what cannot be easily seen. Smaller, waterlogged chunks of glacial ice known as growlers and burgee bits float nearly submerged, blending seamlessly with the churning foam and gray water. A collision with one of these dense, steel-hard blocks of ice at high speed can instantly tear open a ship's hull, sending it to the bottom in minutes and leaving the crew at the mercy of the freezing sea. Today, the legacy of the clipper ships lives on in the arena of extreme modern ocean racing, most notably the Vendée Globe. Known as the Everest of the seas, this grueling competition challenges sailors to race single-handed, non-stop, and without assistance around the planet. The route plunges them deep into the roaring 40s, where modern adventurers face the exact same atmospheric violence that challenged their historic predecessors. Instead of wooden merchant vessels, these modern gladiators sail state-of-the-art carbon fiber yachts designed to fly across the water. Yet, despite their cutting-edge technology and satellite forecasting, the sailors are completely isolated in one of the most remote and hostile environments on Earth. In this high-tech duel against nature, the margins between a record-breaking speed run and a catastrophic disaster remain razor-thin. These modern racing yachts are engineering marvels, built to skim the surface at speeds exceeding 30 knots using advanced hydrofoils. These foil wings lift the hull out of the water, dramatically reducing drag but subjecting the vessel and pilot to violent, bone-rattling impacts. Inside the cramped, noisy carbon cockpits, the physical experience is a relentless assault on the senses. The constant screaming of the wind, the high-pitched hum of the foils, and the explosive crash of the hull slamming into waves make sleep almost impossible. Skippers must navigate, repair broken gear, and manage sail changes in 20-minute micro-naps, all while being tossed around like rag dolls inside a washing machine. It is a grueling, sleepless existence where human endurance is stretched to its absolute breaking point. The psychological pressure of sailing solo through the storm belt is perhaps the greatest challenge of all. When a skipper enters the roaring 40s, they cross a threshold of profound isolation. At many points along the route, the closest other human beings are not on land, but are the astronauts orbiting aboard the International Space Station. If something goes wrong, a mast snaps, a hull is breached, or a medical emergency strikes, help is days or even weeks away. The sailor is entirely alone in the dark, facing the raw fury of the Southern Ocean with only their training, resourcefulness, and mental fortitude to survive. This crushing solitude, combined with physical exhaustion, forces these mariners to confront their deepest fears, forging an unbreakable bond between the sailor, the vessel, and the sea. As the storm belt continues to spin its eternal, watery carousel around the bottom of the world, it remains a timeless symbol of the planet's untamed majesty. From the wooden clippers of the past to the carbon fiber hydrofoils of today, the roaring 40s have always demanded the ultimate tribute of respect and humility from those who dare to cross them. Here, the boundaries of human ambition are laid bare against the infinite power of the sea. If you want to join us as we continue to journey through the Earth's greatest mysteries and uncover the raw forces that shape our world, be sure to subscribe to Unknown Genesis 4K. The adventure is only beginning, and the ocean still holds secrets waiting to be discovered by those brave enough to look. We have traveled across the vast, churning expanse of the Atlantic Ocean, charting its most treacherous waters and witnessing the raw, unbridled fury of nature. From the ice-choked lanes of the Labrador Sea to the suffocating dark of the abyssal plains, this journey has tested the absolute limits of human ambition, engineering, and courage. We have stared into the face of towering waves that could easily swallow massive modern container ships, and we have felt the chilling silence of fog-drenched graveyards where countless explorers met their untimely end. The Atlantic is not merely a body of water. It is a living, breathing colossus that demands respect and commands fear. In this final chapter, we look back at the harrowing path we have forged, reflecting on the eternal struggle between mankind and the deep. To comprehend the true scale of the Atlantic, is to understand our own insignificance in the grand design of the planet. Spanning over 40 million square miles, this immense watery desert connects the poles, serving as a highway for civilizations and a graveyard for the reckless. Its northern reaches are guarded by monolithic icebergs that drift silently like frozen sentinels, while its southern reaches culminate in the screaming tempests of Cape Horn, where the winds howl with relentless, terrifying velocity. For millennia, this ocean has remained a barrier and a challenge, a vast wilderness that refuses to be tamed or fully understood. We have looked out over its endless gray horizon and realized that despite all our achievements, we are merely temporary visitors on a stage dominated by forces of unfathomable magnitude. Throughout history, the Atlantic has lured the boldest mariners into its perilous embrace, testing their resolve with every mile sailed. Long before the advent of modern technology, courageous explorers set forth in fragile wooden ships, steered only by the stars and the whims of the wind. They crossed the unknown, knowing that a single navigation error or a sudden storm could sentence their crews to a watery grave. These sailors possessed an extraordinary resilience, navigating uncharted waters where sea monsters were believed to roam and where the edge of the world seemed just beyond the next wave. Their stories of survival and loss are etched into the history of maritime exploration, serving as a reminder of a time when human courage was the only shield against the boundless, violent fury of the sea. Fast forward to the present day, and the contrast could not be more striking. We now traverse the Atlantic in steel-hulled giants, powered by thousands of horsepower, guided by satellite navigation systems that pinpoint our location down to the millimeter. Weather satellites orbit high above, mapping storms and tracking pressure systems in real time, giving us advance warning of the ocean's shifting moods. Yet, despite these technological marvels, the sea itself has not changed. It remains as wild and indifferent to our steel hulls as it was to the oak planks of the ancient galleons. When a true Atlantic tempest unleashes its full power, our sophisticated instruments and massive engines can feel alarmingly inadequate, reminding us that nature can easily dismantle the tools of modern civilization with a single sweeping gesture. Indeed, our reliance on technology has created a dangerous illusion of control over the natural world. We construct massive container ships and colossal supertankers, convinced that their immense weight can flatten any swell the ocean throws their way. But the Atlantic possesses a terrifying arsenal of weapons designed to shatter human hubris, most notably the legendary rogue waves. Rising out of nowhere like vertical walls of water, these maritime monsters can strike with forces exceeding 100 tons per square meter, instantly crushing bridges and buckling steel frames. In the face of such raw kinetic energy, even the largest ships are reduced to mere toys, tossed helplessly in a chaotic vortex. The ocean does not negotiate with our engineering. It merely tolerates our presence until it decides to demonstrate who truly rules the watery domain. To experience a storm in the middle of the Atlantic is to confront the absolute limits of human endurance and sensory overload. The roar of the wind is deafening, a constant, howling wall of sound that drowns out all speech and thought. Freezing salt spray lashes against the face like shards of broken glass, blinding the eyes and numbing the skin. The ship rolls violently, pitching and yawning as it climbs mountains of water, only to plunge into the abyssal valleys below. In these moments, the passage of time slows to a painful crawl, and the mind is consumed by the sheer primal instinct to survive. It is an environment where fear is tangible, hanging heavy in the air alongside the mist, testing the psychological fortitude of even the most seasoned sailors who dare to navigate these tempestuous domains. Yet, the true scale of the Atlantic's power lies not just on its surface, but in the dark, silent mysteries of its abyssal depths. Far below the reach of sunlight lies the midnight zone, a vast and alien world under crushing atmospheric pressure. Here, massive trenches plunge into the earth, forming canyons deep enough to swallow Mount Everest with room to spare. In these unexplored depths, bizarre creatures slide through the darkness, adapted to a hostile environment that would instantly obliterate human life. We have mapped the surface of distant planets, yet the bottom of our own ocean remains largely shrouded in mystery, an elusive frontier waiting to be explored. The abyss reminds us that the Atlantic is a three-dimensional empire of secrets, harboring wonders and terrors that challenge our understanding of biology, geology, and life itself. This ocean is also the planetary engine that regulates our climate, dictating weather patterns across multiple continents. The mighty Gulf Stream, a river of warm water flowing within the ocean, carries tropical heat northward, keeping vast regions of Western Europe habitable. Yet this life-giving system is delicate and carries immense power. When the balance is disrupted, it can trigger catastrophic weather events, fueling superstorms that batter coastal regions with devastating force. The ocean's currents are the circulatory system of our biosphere, yet they are driven by differences in temperature and salinity, a fragile equilibrium that humanity is only beginning to comprehend. The Atlantic possesses the capability to support life on a global scale, but it also harbors the power to reclaim land and reshape coastlines, proving that our civilizations exist only by its permission. Knowing the dangers, why does humanity continue to return to these hostile waters, refusing to seek the safety of dry land? The answer lies in the indomitable spirit of adventure, a calling that has driven our species to explore the unknown since the dawn of time. We are hardwired to seek what lies beyond the horizon, to challenge the limits of our endurance, and to test our resolve against the greatest obstacles. The sea acts as a mirror, reflecting our deepest fears and highlighting our capacity for courage, cooperation, and resilience. To stand on the deck of a vessel facing a roaring Atlantic storm is to feel truly alive, stripped of the distractions of modern life, and focused entirely on the primal act of survival. It is this profound connection that draws us back, time and time again, to the edge of the deep. However, this relationship is not without its costs, and the history of the Atlantic is paved with tragedy and sacrifice. We must never forget the price that has been paid for our curiosity, the countless vessels that have vanished into the gray abyss without leaving a single trace. From the legendary Titanic to obscure fishing trawlers caught in winter gales, the ocean does not distinguish between the wealthy, the brave, or the ordinary. It swallows them all with the same cold, silent indifference. These tragedies serve as a somber reminder of our vulnerability and the need for humility whenever we leave the safety of the harbor. The ocean is a stern teacher, and its lessons are often written in the wreckage scattered across the sea floor, warning future generations of the cost of overconfidence in the face of nature's supreme power. Yet, for all its terror, the Atlantic is also a realm of breathtaking, transcendent beauty that captivates the human soul. There are moments of quiet majesty when the winds die down and the water turns to glass, reflecting the fiery colors of a setting sun. Under the cover of darkness, bioluminescent organisms glow with an ethereal green light, outlining the wake of our ship in shimmering, cosmic patterns. In the far north, the aurora borealis dances across the night sky, casting vibrant ribbons of green and violet over drifting icebergs that glow like sculpted crystals. This contrast between violence and beauty is what makes the ocean so mesmerizing. It is a reminder that the wild places of our planet are not just hostile, but also sanctuaries of pure, untouched wonder that inspire our art, our science, and our dreams. As we look to the future, we must also acknowledge how our relationship with the ocean is changing. Humanity has left its mark on every corner of the globe, and the Atlantic is no exception, bearing the scars of our industrial expansion and environmental neglect. Yet, despite our impact on the surface, the deep heart of the ocean remains fundamentally wild and untamed. The great depths are a fortress of nature, impervious to our superficial control, and reminding us that there are still domains where human power is utterly irrelevant. The Atlantic has survived ice ages, continental shifts, and the rise and fall of countless species, and it will continue to endure long after our own civilization has passed into history. It is a humbling realization, forcing us to recognize that we are not the masters of this planet, but merely temporary guests. This realization does not deter our quest for discovery, but rather fuels our desire to descend deeper into the unknown. The future of ocean exploration lies in advanced submersibles and robotic probes capable of withstanding the crushing weight of the abyss. These technological pioneers are currently mapping the seabed with high-resolution sonar, revealing underwater mountain ranges, active volcanoes, and hydrothermal vents that support unique ecosystems. Yet, with every dive and every map we create, we realize that we have only scratched the surface of what the Atlantic has to hide. Each expedition raises new questions and reveals new mysteries, reminding us that the ocean is a dynamic, evolving puzzle that will keep scientists and explorers occupied for generations to come. The era of maritime discovery is far from over. Indeed, it is only just beginning. Ultimately, the Atlantic Ocean serves as a mirror to humanity itself, reflecting our greatest achievements and our most profound vulnerabilities. It is a place where we are forced to confront our limitations and find the strength to push beyond them, discovering what we are truly made of in the process. The relationship between humanity and the sea is not one of conquest, but of coexistence, a continuous dialogue between our ambition and the ocean's untamed power. As long as the waves crash against the shore and the deep abyss remains shrouded in darkness, the human spirit will be drawn to its edges, looking out with a mixture of fear, respect, and awe. We leave this watery frontier not with a sense of triumph, but with a deep, lasting reverence for the unconquerable sea that defines our world. If you have felt the pull of the deep, if you want to join us as we journey into the most remote, dangerous, and beautiful corners of our planet, then subscribe to Unknown Genesis 4K. Like this video, share it with those who share your passion for discovery, and leave a comment below with the mysteries that keep you looking toward the horizon. Join our community of explorers, and together, let us continue to uncover the secrets of the unconquerable deep. This has been Atlantic Extremes, journey through the world's most dangerous seas. Thank you for watching. Keep your eyes on the horizon, and we will see you in the next exploration.